three French hens, two turtle doves,
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Welcome back to another 12 days of Christmas. It feels a little bit different at night. It's a little bit more Christmassy and cozy, and it's 20 degrees in Australia in the middle of summer, so I'm wearing a hoodie. Gotta hold on to it while I still can. So today is day 7, crazy, and you're getting another double feature today. Let's hope it starts off well.
Or is it another double feature?
Oh my god, you would not.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, some of you probably won't remember. Some of you might remember a couple...
2 years ago?
2 years
I
ago.
reckon.
For 12 Days of Christmas, Dean got me two of the Amityville films, the original and the Ryan Reynolds remake, and I almost had a breakdown.
You're under a lot of pressure with work, so like you're literally working a day job, but then I'm like, so today, after your day job, here's 5 hours of movies to watch before then recording and then editing and putting the movie up.
I was a little bit disappointed or stressed out because instead of, getting home after my 9 to 5 and watching one film and filming and uploading that, I had to do it with 2 films. Such a great memory to bring up. Oh god. Okay. Let's hope it's better than that.
Well, let's hope it's better than Cold Girls. Everything will be better than Cold Girls.
Wait, is it? What is this? Black Cat?
Yeah, Black Cat.
Oh, Karloff, Ellen, Bella Lugosi. Oh my god. Look at that. It's Edgar Allan Poe. Spelt like that. If you don't know, you don't know. Hi, Sean. This is exciting. Do you know?
I don't know.
My friend Sean, Nocturnal Horrors, I'll let you in on the joke. My friend Sean, Nocturnal Horrors, is on a crusade. I'm so sorry, Sean, on Twitter because everyone spells Allen in Edgar Allan Poe wrong.
Oh, they spell it with one L?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe an E or something. Maybe it is one L. I don't know. All I know is he's shouting at everyone. Anyway, I thought that's funny. Awesome. I don't know if I've seen this one. You think I have, but I really can't remember. When I first got into horror, like hardcore, I was going through and watching all the classics. I have a tattoo of Boris Karloff as well as Frankenstein's monster. So yeah, I'm very keen on this one. It's only 65 minutes and I'm really excited to watch this one at night because I think it'll be a really good vibe. After a bus crash on a lonely Austrian road, American honeymooners Joan and Peter are forced to spend the night in the house of Polzig. I'm definitely not saying that right. A sinister looking man who is engaged in an intense feud with Dr. Look at all these Austrian names. With a doctor whom the couple met on the Orient Express. Held captive in the mausoleum against their will, they will soon discover that he is a high priest at Black Mass and has chosen Joan to be his devil's bride. I'm excited. This is much better than Cold Girls already. Cool, let's get into it.
Gromit, this one's about a kitty. It's another kitty one. Where is it?
Hi friends. Before we start, yes, this is Gromit's butt. It's too hard to get his whole body in and he's sleeping. I'm not going to make my animal face the camera. I'm sure you'll enjoy seeing his little tiny tail. I just finished watching Black Cat. Not a good start. This is not my favorite of the Universal monster films. Obviously this one comes after Frankenstein's monster and Dracula, which is from 1931. And I think this was the first film that featured both of the head honchos. I mean, there's a couple of head honchos. It's an interesting dynamic because you're not really too sure. I feel like they're kind of fighting for the spotlight, and usually it's one kind of family that comes in, or, you know, one protagonist that comes in, and then there's the evil on the other side. Obviously, give or take, but especially with these kind of older films. So it was interesting having two of them, and one, like, Lugosi's character, you're not really sure if he's good or bad the whole time. But anyway, the film is about a husband and wife who go on this train ride, and then everything in their plans goes wrong and they end up in this famous architect's house. And I will say it is very impressive what they did with the architecture. I cannot believe this film is from the 30s. It blew my mind, especially with the lighting and the different concepts. It's almost like they're doing like Art Deco years before, decades before it was a thing. And I thought it was really cool. It's really interesting to see how other people would predict, not that they're predicting the future, but what other people think is really stylish back then, especially in the 30s. I was really taken aback by that. Anyway, I'm not even getting through the storyline. So they get there and then someone's fishy with him, and the main thing is this weird dynamic between the two characters. The reason they're there is because Karloff's character, who lives there, and Lugosi is reuniting with him, and they've kind of somehow ended up coming along for the ride. And then as soon as Karloff sees this bride, the wife, he, is taken back and decides to use her for his black mass. That bit is like, it's kind of like a subplot, which is very strange, but it's really the dynamic between the two head honchos in this film, and I guess that's probably why they made it. They made it because a lot of people loved them, and they were so iconic, and they still are so iconic. So I think this one was really made for the box office. And I did read that it was the biggest box office hit of the year for Universal, so I guess it did its job. But for me, the horror in it, I'm not going to say it's not a horror movie, but the horror in it really takes the back seat. It's just about the dynamic between the two, and at one point they're playing chess over the woman. It's just bizarre, and usually it's a really simple storyline, but in this one, their relationship and their past, it comes into it, and it's very complicated, very political, and it's just quite messy. And then the whole thing with the black cat, it just seems like it's focusing on the wrong aspects, and you finally get to the black mass like 4 minutes before the film's over. And although, again, the visuals were really cool for that, it's just not my favorite classic Universal film. I read that this film helped popularize the psychological horror subgenre, but what I thought was most interesting about this film was some of the shot choices, especially for the 30s. They had this amazing tracking shot going through this weird basement. As I said, the architecture in this house is amazing, especially for the 30s. And the tracking was almost like Evil Dead, and it was so different for its time. And then there's also this shot where it's almost like really trendy now to do these transitions where you like throw something over the camera, more in like bite-sized content, which is also known as candy content. So things like TikTok or like Instagram Reels, where people like throw the clothes and then they're wearing them. They do that kind of in this with the transition where he like throws his jacket at the end of the day before he gets into bed over the camera. And then when he gets into bed, he pulls up his sheet and it's, the reveal. And it was very strange, and I was not expecting it. And there was a lot of those kind of scenes or those kind of transitions and shots like that really, I thought it was quite intriguing and really gave it an extra oomph. But there's this amazing shot when Karloff is waking up and he does this rise out of bed, like he's sitting up, and it's very throwback to, Frankenstein's monster. And then there's also this amazing shot of him outside with the clouds behind his head. And I just think that there was visually, everything was going on. Especially with the art design, and just everything else was just a little bit of a weird dynamic. It was like they tried to make this storyline that was going to have them both in there. And yeah, it didn't really work for me. I don't know how true it rings to the original story that it's based on, but in 1941, there is a loose remake of this. Well, it's a readaptation of the story, and it's more of a comedy. Although I will say in this version, in the version I watched today, there was this throwaway line that was like a comedic line, and it's very strange for these kind of films to have funny moments that are actually funny now. And it was the guy, he was saying, I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything, the guy was saying, next time I'll go to Niagara Falls, and
I don't know, it still appeals today, really. So I thought that was quite clever and strange. But yes, there is a remake or a readaptation of it not that long after, you know, less than 10 years. So that's quite interesting. I wonder why. I guess they switched it up completely. And maybe that's the version I've seen, because I really don't remember this one at all. Also, I'm not sure if I read on the back of the cover that this was set in Austria, but it's set in Hungary. Anyway, that's what I thought about this film. I think the visuals are really cool. I think it's worth it for watching for the visuals alone. Not my favorite classic Universal film, but that's totally fine. You win some, you lose some. Total respect to it as well, though. I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 10. It was, yeah, pretty average for me, smack bang in the middle. But, you know, it was only an hour, so it wasn't too painful or anything like that. I still enjoyed watching the visuals, and I always love watching black and white films just for the sake of how they film it. And it's almost like, that was another cool aspect about this, there's almost like a vignette built into every shot, the way they have to overproduce colors. It's really interesting now, if you see films like The Lighthouse, you can actually see in, you know, the photos, the production photos, what they were wearing. But back then it was black and white photography, so you can't really work out what colors everything was, and I love looking into that and kind of like studying that in the background. Anyway, total nerd, that is it for tonight, but I'll see you again tomorrow because this is a double feature. I have no idea what's about to happen. Good luck, future me.
And it's the next morning, and it's day 8. Day 8, oh my gosh. This is flying by. I'm so nervous all the time. Oh, did you want to do the reading thing that we spoke about last night?
I don't mind.
Dean was gonna show you guys before I know what it is and read to me the blurb, and then I'm gonna guess, I guess. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's where you want to
Yeah, let's go. I can't see it. Is it the front or the back?
That's the front. The front's upside down.
What do you think, everyone? Okay, do you want to read it?
Oh, let's finish. Lizzie is a tough, resourceful frontierswoman settling a remote stretch of land in the 19th century American frontier. Isolated from civilization on the desolate wilderness where the wind never stops howling, she begins to sense a sinister presence that seems to be born of the land itself, and an overwhelming dread that her husband dismisses her superstition. When a newly couple arrives on a nearby homestead, the presence amplifies on Lizzie's fears, setting in motion a shocking chain of events.
Is this The Wind?
Yeah.
Yes, I haven't seen this. Oh my god, I knew exactly when you said the off the land, and then you were talking about like a period one, because I'm not a big fan of like period dramas, period horrors. I mean, there's always exceptions like The Witch and stuff, but it takes me a long time to watch them, and this is one I've been putting off because I'm like, I don't know. But I haven't seen it, and I believe Nightmare Maven did a review on it, and I think she really liked it. If I can remember that right, it was a long time ago. But yeah, okay, great. I'm actually really excited to see this one. It's actually the funniest thing that you read out this one, because out of all of the films we've spoken about, I don't know any of them, but I know this one. Probably the most. Oh, I mean, I know like Cat People, Black Cat, a couple of them, but this is one that I was actually looking forward to watching, so that was funny that you read this one. Yay! What a guess!
Well done.
Name that film and I won.
Hi friends, I just finished watching The Wind, and that was way better than I expected. Again, another one I was sad I put off for so long because it's kind of, I mean, it is really compelling. The film is set in the late 1980s, and it's about two couples who are living in this rural farm-like area in the middle of America. I'm not sure what state it is. And the women in each couple are experiencing a demonic presence. That's the best way to put it. It's definitely spooky, and I feel like if I had known that, I probably would have watched it earlier. So I don't think it's so much of a spoiler because it really does get into it. But I do think it's worth saying if you haven't watched it yet, that's what you can expect. The film is directed by Emma Tammy, which I was really excited about because I've been really liking in my female directors within horror. I did a deep dive into my letterboxd on my Patreon recently, and yeah, it was pretty alarming, so this is great. And if you do have any, obviously I've seen like Nightingale and yeah, any obvious ones, but if you have any that you think are hidden gems, please let me know. Maybe I should do a video on that. But anyway, yeah, so I was very excited about that, and it's interesting because it is from a woman's perspective as well. The film reminded me of two films mixed together. One is the atmosphere and the stirring slowness, eeriness from Blackcoat's Daughter, also known as February. And then the other film it reminded me of was The Dark and the Wicked, which is a newer film and a film a lot of people like, but it has the same kind of is it happening, is it not happening kind of element to it. And this film really is about these two women losing grips on their sanity, and it's quite a shocking film and quite slow and stirring, as I've said, but there definitely are some moments that are pretty scary, and I think it builds the vibe pretty good. Probably watching it in the day. It wasn't a great day movie, but I can't really predict these if I don't know when I unwrap them. So if you are going to watch it, I would probably recommend watching it at night. Of course, the landscape in this one is something that builds the atmosphere, but a lot of the scary moments or the stirring moments were done during the day, and it has this amazing contrast between like the grass, which is, you know, kind of like this dead, I don't know what it is, like weedy grass, and then the blue sky. And it's very strange because they have these twangs and these really, you know, really stirring music in the background, and then they have this blue sky and a nice tree and they're reading a book. And it's a very interesting way, like a juxtaposition between the sound and what you're seeing on screen. Like that could be a Jane Austen film. I just think of like period dramas where, you know, someone's reading a book underneath a tree, and then there's this music and this stirring in the background that makes you feel like something is wrong. And I like that. It's really off-putting and it's just not what you expect. And because the whole film deals with like this idea of the wind and the land and all of it being evil and you're unsure which aspect to watch, I think it plays on your mind while you're watching the film. So yeah, it's really well done in that regard. I have to warn you again, the film is very slow. It doesn't have much dialogue, and it really does rely on you to pay a lot of attention. Some of the scenes I had to rewind because I couldn't hear what they were saying, and for some reason I can't get subtitles on any of these DVDs, which is ridiculous. Usually I watch a lot of stuff on VOD or I rent movies from YouTube and stuff like that, and I always have subtitles on. And it's so annoying not having subtitles, especially when you've got the physical copy. So just keep that in mind. If you're hard of hearing, maybe try and get a copy where you know they'll have subtitles. A lot of the dialogue is whispered or said quite softly. And because there's not a lot of it, you really want to know what they're saying because it feels like it's moving along the plot and it's an insight into the characters. Obviously, that's dialogue, but you don't get much more insight. So it's really important to focus on the dialogue. Overall, this is a film about slowly losing your grip on reality, and I think it has some really haunting imagery, and I really liked the setting, the acting, and how it played out. It's not a linear story. It kind of jumps around a bit, and I think that kept it interesting because you're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together slowly, but it is a simple story, which I liked about it. And I'd probably recommend it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the ending, but I don't know what else I could do, so I'm not going to really fault it on that. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10, which is the best score so far. It's been really hard for me this month because I've been watching so many movies, obviously with the 12 Days of Christmas, and then I've been watching a bunch of other films to try and catch up with anything I might have missed in 2020, just so I know for my wrap-up at the end of the year or at the start of the year. And it's been really hard because I've been seeing so many good films, and trying to put them on that scale is a hard thing to do. But I'm giving it a 7, which is still a great score, and it's a score that means that I highly recommend you watch it if you're into slow burns that are simple but effective. And if you liked something dark and something wicked, and Blackcoat's Daughter or February, definitely check this one out. I think you'll really like it. Have you seen The Wind? Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments down below. This was day 7 and 8, which is crazy to me. So I'll be back very shortly for another 12 Days of Christmas. I hope you're staying safe during this holiday season, and I'll see you then. Stay spooky. Bye. Can't wait to see what the next one's going to be.